I am here with Vic Starita. Did I say that right?
You said it correctly, actually, yes.
And we are here in Top Rank Gym. How are you today?
I'm great.
I just wanted to thank you so much for coming on here. And I wanted to interview you for a while now. You are one of the top cutmen. And I wanted to get some background on you and how you actually got started with that.
So when I used to box, I bled very easily, and my kids bled also when they boxed. And I didn't want them to be stopped at nationals due to nosebleeds. So initially, I started finding out about nosebleeds and how to take care of them. And I spoke to Billy Briscoe, who's Gabe Rosado's boxing coach and one of the best cutmen in the world out of Philadelphia. He's one of my mentors. So I got into it that way, and then as my kids progressed, and I ended up meeting guys on the national team, and those guys became elites, and then they became pros. I ended up working as a cutman on the pro side. The first fighter who actually took me to a big pro fight was Nicolas Hernandez out of Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm. Where was that fight?
That fight was in the Maryland area, I think Fort Washington.
Okay, so once you were the cutman for that fight, how did you start getting noticed and being offered more fights to work for? Or did you do that yourself?
So I knew that boxing, I've been in boxing since I was 12, on and off. So I knew I wanted to work with boxing, but boxers don't like MMA and they don't follow MMA. So I figured if I got on with an MMA promotion and I screwed up, nobody'd ever know I'm boxing. So I started working MMA shows, and lo and behold, here I am today. My first real cut, a guy had a cut on his eyelid big enough that you could stick a jumbo shrimp in. And I was like, oh my God, right? But I didn't show that to him in the corner.
Yeah.
And that night when I drove home, and I told the guy, I said, I don't know if they'll give you another round. I said, you got to stop this guy. So he ended up push kicking the guy and Superman punch and knocked the guy out. And I was like, oh my God, thank God. And then I drove home that night. I was like, man, I don't know if I want to be in this because Jesus Christ. But he didn't bleed. He didn't bleed out of that cut, which was amazing.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So how many fights do you think that you've been in the ring for?
So right now I have over 3,000 fights where my fighter's been cut.
Wow. And what about though the severity of the cuts? I mean, I'm sure that you've witnessed cuts that the fight should have been stopped and the fight is just, they don't say anything.
Unfortunately, the cutman doesn't have a say in that, so we have to keep the fighter in, even if we think the fight should not go on. You know, our job's to stop the cut and the swelling. So, bare knuckle, I'm in the bare knuckle Hall of Fame. I'm the only bare knuckle fighter, cutman to ever work all three major promotions: BKFC, BYB, BKB. And the reason I have so many fights was I moved to Mexico during the pandemic. In Mexico, there was no pandemic because people had to make a living. So I'd show up at a show and there'd be like 18 fights 3 or 4 times a week. And I'd do every fight because I'd be like tacos, Diet Coke, my team, hey, what do you want? So they could never pay what I needed. But the medicine was cheap in Mexico, and I just stayed active. When most cutmen, there was only 4 of them in the United States working. I stayed super, super busy during the pandemic in Mexico, doing an average of like 45 to 70 fights a week.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever met a cutman that has had as many fights to cover for. I know that you do a lot of travel, and how do you alternate the travel time with personal life, because I'm sure that you're not just, I think you were just over in Dubai.
I was in Saudi. I had a fight on the 23rd in Dubai and 27th in Saudi, but my mom got sick, so I came home on the 21st.
Okay.
And I took some time off. I did bare knuckle on the 7th, and I took some time off. I'm gonna probably show up and go to the weigh-ins today and try to get some work. And that keeps you humble. Like, you're never that big. That some guys are like, oh, I only work the co-main or main event. Mm-hmm. I stay busy. It doesn't matter to me if it's a 4-rounder, if it's an underground fight, if it's bare knuckle. I just need to stay busy. It helps me with my combat PTSD from the Marine Corps.
And it seems like you really love doing it too.
I do. She asked me about personal life. Listen, my mom lives in my home. I take care of my mom when I'm not traveling. My son's there to take care of her when I travel. I don't really have a lot of personal life. I'm always on a plane, on a layover, in a hotel room, or in the ring, or home. And this is my home gym, Top Rank. I'm rarely here because I'm just never home. And when I'm home, I'm trying to catch up on my circadian rhythm and trying to sleep because I've, traveled 3 different time zones, 4 different time zones. The worst case scenario, 38-hour travel time with 2 layovers coming from Saudi Arabia. It's just brutal, the travels. The only thing I don't like about my job is the travel.
Yeah. Where do you think is the worst place you've ever traveled to for a fight?
Jesus. As far as like the traveling,
the location, just the whole setup. Have you ever?
I was in a fight on a border town in Mexico, where the cartel was outside with the cops. They had dog fights, bare knuckle. They had MMA and boxing. That was scary. I got taken to a fight where a cartel boss couldn't go to an event, so they had real officials from place and real fighters at the world's largest I don't want to say the name of the place. It's the largest resort, and I actually worked both corners, and they would let me work on one guy, then the other, and then the fight would start. So I've done fights for the cartel, done underground fights. I've done anything that's a combat sport.
Do you know of any upcoming fights that you're going to be the cutman for? I mean, I know you said you're going today to the weigh-ins to see.
So the 31st, I'll be in Miami for BKB bare knuckle.
Okay.
And the unique thing about BKB is they take the world's smallest ring, 14 foot, and they cut it in half. So it's a triangle. It's called a trigon. And those fighters fight bare knuckle, and they're allowed to do the Muay Thai clinch. So you're allowed to grab the guy by the neck and then punch him bare knuckle. So while it is a tough sport, as a cutman, it's the best sport to be a cutman because it's not that I'm better than everybody. I am, but not on a cocky level. It's my experience due to bare knuckle takes me to a different level. Mm-hmm. So, all these guys, and I don't know how to sell myself on multimedia, so they're super popular. But tell me the last fight they stopped cuts at. I stopped 4 to 13 cuts per bare knuckle fight. Wow. And all my people look like they got attacked with a chainsaw, or they went through the car windshield and landed in front of the car. So when they say, what's the toughest boxing cut, boxing doesn't even come close to what bare knuckle does, or MMA.
What is the worst injury that you've seen?
Mark Irwin versus Tenori, the first fight. Mark was a world champion. So ESPN clowned him and made fun of him because it looked like he had a leopard hairdo. It looked like he had another head. So what happened was his jaw was broken in 2 spots, broken orbital socket. His nasal cavity had a fracture. So think about that. He had a fracture in his skull. He had a punctured eardrum. And I kept him in the fight. I had him with a gallon Ziploc bag on his side and 3 end swells. And I had the coach helping me with end swells and trying to stop cuts also. So by far, that's probably the most challenging fight I've ever dealt with.
I mean, you sound like you've had a very impressive career too, and I really admire that, and I admire how you got started in it, because I always wondered, how did the cutman get started? But you actually just reached out and did it for yourself. But do you have any words of advice for anybody that wants to be a cutman?
So first of all, if you think you're going to get rich at this, or you think this is going to be easy, it's not. Typically, you're going to have to get in with a gym and start wrapping people's hands and work your way in with a coach, right? And then you're going to have to find somebody who'll teach you cuts. A lot of these guys say, I learned this on YouTube or that. And you look at them in the corner, and first of all, they don't even know how to hold a Q-tip. That's a cutman's main tool is a Q-tip. So if you can't, you need to take the toolage under somebody. You need to take a course to learn some stuff, and you need to apprentice under somebody. Problem is, today everybody wants everything done immediately. Everything is disposable. And I learned it on YouTube. You're not going to learn this on YouTube. I was offered a lot of money to do these courses online during the pandemic. I refused. Why? It's like teaching how to swim on the internet. I can tell you, you're going to drown. It's not going to happen. You're not going to help your fighter. I was blessed that I had amazing cut people who actually sat in the corner with me, like Billy Briscoe, Danny Davis, Mo Morales. They sat in the corner with me in Philly at the 2300, and I sat in their corner. So I was being taught by a lion as a cub, how to hunt also. So not only did they give me advice in my fight, I sat in their fights. You know, to this day, my mentors don't ever have to buy adrenaline. I give it to them. Anytime I have insoles made by a machine shop, I have them made for them too. I can't, you know, people don't have gratitude today. People don't have discipline. People don't know their place. Like you have cutmen who think they're coaches and they try to take over corners, and they're popular guys that are, you know, they're in because they have a certain niche in the industry. If the coach didn't ask you, keep your mouth shut. Stay in your lane. Know your place.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I thank you so much for your time, and it's just remarkable to hear your story, and you are so humble and knowledgeable. And I just commend you for that, and I am just so appreciative that I got to meet with you. Is there anything else that you want to let the public know? Any words of wisdom?
So I'm learning every day, okay? Be a lifelong student. My teachers will always be better than I will. My job when I pass the craft on is to make sure that my students are better than I. So tomorrow when I'm dead, I will be part of that chain that continues through combat sport. My legacy will continue. My job, I'm trying to leave a fingerprint in boxing and combat sports. So when I'm dead and I'm gone, I will have made the sport a better place.
Thank you so much, Vic. You are awesome. I'll speak to you soon.
God bless you.
God bless you.